Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show and happy Thursday. Welcome to another wild day in the news world. Stephen A. Smith will be here in just a few minutes. And later, another edition of Britt and Witt taking on cultural stories. And there are a lot of them, including, the Duchess of Duplicity is out of control. She spoke out earlier today in Australia where she was attending a youth mental health organization conference. And to the surprise of absolutely no one, she made it in front of this group of suffering children all about herself. Watch.
For now 10 years, every day for 10 years, I've been bullied and attacked. And I was the most trolled person in the entire world. Man or woman. And I'm still here. And so when I think of all of you and what you're experiencing, I think so much of that is having to realize that, that industry, that billion-dollar industry that is completely anchored and predicated on cruelty to get clicks, that's not going to change. So you have to be stronger in that.
Okay, what is she even talking about? Literally, the Daily Mail is not writing articles about the children in this mental health group. No one's targeting those kids. You got targeted because you wanted to be, because you sought out the most eligible man and bachelor in the world who was putty in your hands because you knew exactly how to exploit him, thanks to his mental trauma. You targeted him. He was on your vision board. Don't lie about it, because I'm the one who broke that news, and I had it on a very good source, notwithstanding your lies about you had no idea who the royal family was or who he was. Okay, sure. And you made it happen because you wanted to feel important. You wanted a short form to mega fame. You weren't getting it done on Suits. So you decided to marry somebody way more famous than you, and you sought to glom on to everything he had. That made you a target because you became a large public figure. Every public figure has been subjected to negative scrutiny, often very intense and unpleasant. You had the benefit of universally loving and adoring, praise, fawning press for a year. When you started dating him, a biracial American princess, oh my God, the US press went nuts. The Brits, who are woker than we are, were self-flagellating themselves in every paper for not having had anybody in color in the family. And they were bending over backwards to welcome you into the royal family and chastise themselves for not having had somebody as diverse and interesting as you prior to that. It was pathetic. And then you blew it by being a bitch and a bully to everyone around you. I think we are now at over 24 people who have left your employ, most, in tears after the bullying you subjected them to. You perpetrated. Not that was perpetrated against you. And then when news of your terrible behavior got out, the press turned on you. Yes, that's how life works. Ask Blake Lively, who there's news on today too, which we will get to. That's what happens. Stop going to groups of children. Days ago, it was kids in a cancer hospital. Now it's kids dealing with anxiety and depression, and making it about yourself, your image rehab, or your need for publicity, or to recast actual events of the past as something much more favorable to you, or trying to create people who are much more sympathetic to you. Just stop, okay? Stop. It's the classic, you talk to somebody and they're like, oh, I had a death in the family. This person really important to me died. And you're like, I had one too. Let me tell you about mine. No, shut up. And honestly, to try to bond with them, like I was the most trolled person in the world. You were the most beloved person in the world. You were the most, and privileged, the most privileged. Like you can relate to anything that these kids are going through because you've had some negative articles written about you while you sat inside your castle with your tiara on and the crown jewels. She's so clueless. She has no idea why we don't like her. She thinks it's because we've bought misleading press coverage. No, No, we've watched you. We watched you get every advantage in the world and then cry to ITV that no one asked about how you were doing. We watched you bag the elephant. Prince Harry going to Africa together, going on world tours, people falling at your feet with praise and admiration. And then you going on Oprah, sticking a knife in the Queen and her husband, who was dying in the hospital at that moment, letting people believe they might be racists. As it turns out, you appear to have been talking about Queen Camilla, soon to be queen, and others within the royal family. But you wouldn't do anyone the courtesy of saying it explicitly because you wanted to tar everyone with that brush. You are a bully, and that is why the press turned on you. And now she has a lecture for these kids on how you just have to be stronger. Why don't you try being stronger? You sue every other publication that says something negative about you because you have such a thin skin. Because you did your little shoot right to the top of the public figure scale by design and then couldn't handle it when you got there. Honestly, there is something beneficial about becoming a public figure more slowly. You take baby steps, both on your burgeoning fame and on the downsides of it. And you skipping that, which was your intention, your goal, which you successfully achieved, has cost you the wisdom that you would have attained had you earned it step by step. So shame on you for using your time with children to make it about yourself, to try to rehab yourself by referencing experience that have absolutely no bearing to these children. Are these a bunch of child actors? I don't think so. It's social media and negative comments here and there that these kids may or may not be seeing on Snapchat is not the same thing as you earning negative press from the British and American tabloids and mainstream. The loathing of you has gone mainstream thanks to one person, you, with an assist from your husband, who's become even more whiny and pathetic. He's talking to I'm going to get to this in the second hour. Believe it or not, this is a second hour segment. I just whatever. This woman's self-pity is such a turnoff to me. But he's just as bad as she is. He's talking about how incredibly anxious and depressed and overly obsessive. What's the word he uses? I was actually taken aback by it. Completely overwhelmed. Completely overwhelmed we all feel. We do? I don't feel completely overwhelmed. I don't feel anxious, stressed, helpless, powerless, and completely overwhelmed. What are you completely overwhelmed about? How big is your mansion in Montecito that you force us to watch in the promos for your wife's stupid shows that all fail, but that keep getting picked up because her Hollywood power agent makes it happen? And she squeezed that last bit of goodwill out of the royal title to get to land a Netflix deal and you your book deal and then the two of you your Spotify deal. What are you completely overwhelmed about? Honestly, then he's obsessing over the death of his mother, which was tragic. Okay, it was like 30 years ago, and he's still bringing it up. Most people have lost somebody very close to them in the family. Some of us also lost parents right around that same age. We went on to deal with it, to live our lives, to fill up our hearts and our heads with other more positive experiences, to connect with other humans, see the goodness of humankind. We didn't say what he is saying today. We didn't stay in the fetal position until we realized we needed mental health assistance. Okay, this guy is a grown man. He's a father now of 2, and he's talking about himself in the fetal position, feeling, again, completely overwhelmed. By what? Your $100 million? Your role as a prince? Your connection to the King of England? What is it that's overwhelming you? This is I can't with these two. More on that in the second hour. Okay. That's a tease, believe it or not. All right. We're going to start here. Start after the start with the latest in the race for the president in the Democratic primary. And we've been telling you about all the issues with Republicans these days, and there are a lot. But Democrats might have an even bigger political problem on their hands, and that is because, and this is so amazing, Kamala Harris, she's going to run. She going to win. No, she's not going to win. Remember how she was like, oh, we're going to win? No, you're not going to win. Although, God forbid, I mean, like, never say never, because given the state of the Republican Party right now, can we really rule it out? But she's going to run. She has quietly become the clear frontrunner by double digits in the Democrat primary. Just when you think like, shit, like the news cycle's been so bad for Republicans and like, it's just been depressing, you know? And now it's like, God sprinkles a little moon dust on the cycle, and Kamala Harris comes out and says she's thinking about running, and she turns out to be the front runner. In the RCP average of all polls, she's in first place at 26.9%. That's not just one poll. That's the average of all polling, 26.9, followed by Gavin Newsom at 18.9, and Pete Buttigieg back at 10.7, AOC at 7.9. Here's what's interesting about it. Gavin Newsom has universal name recognition too. It's not like Pete Buttigieg or Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. By the way, he's at 6.8. Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, he's a 5.2. Everybody knows who Gavin Newsom is in this country now. He's been ubiquitous this past couple of years. So she's crushing him, notwithstanding the fact that they both have universal name recognition. And the Democrats know she's an idiot, but they're getting ready to nominate her again. Okay, we'll see. I mean, they may be getting ready to nominate her again. I know you can make a strong case that's name recognition. She was the VP, whatever. I think there's more to it than that, given that he also has the same name recognition, or probably close to what she has. The trend line is very clear. She's gaining, not losing support. It's incredible. How can that be? She is ahead in 7 of the last 9 polls, including the last 4. In the 2 most recent, she is up double digits. Gavin Newsom, who many do perceive as the frontrunner, has not led a poll since February. So despite blowing $1 billion in 107 days, only to get walloped by Donald Trump, popular vote, all 7 swing states went for him, not her. I may get my biggest wish, my birthday wish, my wish at New Year's Day, and Kamala Harris may be the Democratic nominee again. It's amazing. How great would it be to watch a JD Vance or a Marco Rubio have a one-on-one debate with Kamala Harris? And Kamala, she seems to know she's in a good position, which is surprising given her unbelievable lack of self-awareness. She's in the Carolinas this week. Where, you say? In the Carolinas, yes, as part of her book tour, allegedly. And she posted this video, not about her book, but about gas prices on X last night.
Hey everyone, so I'm here in Charlotte. Since the start of Trump's war of choice, it's $15 more every time you fill up your tank of gas. The price of diesel has now gone up 80% since the start of the war. And you best believe that's going to carry over to how much you're paying for all the goods that are being transported on those semis. We've got a president who is paying more attention to what he thinks is in his best political interest and personal interest, as opposed to what is in the best interest of working people in America.
Okay, clearly that had been sped up, because we all know she doesn't talk like that. She's meandering, she's got vocal fry, and she takes like 10 seconds to spit out 2 words. But, frankly, I appreciate it because I'm short on time. First of all, diesel's, it is up, but it's not up 80%. It's up 50%. So let's get our facts straight. Just under 50%. I think it's 49.2. But is Kamala Harris really trying to make us believe she suddenly cares about gas prices? She cares about gas prices? You want to talk about record-setting gas prices? That's when you were the sitting vice president. That's when we saw record-setting gas prices. It happened at the height of the Ukraine war in June 2022, when regular gas climbed up to $5.02, 5.02 a gallon. Diesel got up to $5.82. And you were fine with that because you were trying actively to decimate the oil and gas business. You made it very clear. You wanted to ban fracking. You wanted permits denied for more drilling. You were the opposite of drill, baby, drill. And that was fine by you because you hated fossil fuels and you felt like an environmental warrior and you didn't give a shit about rising gas prices. In fact, when they were at that peak back in 2022 after the Ukraine war, you lectured us on how it was like our civic duty to suck that up. So you can't have it both ways, madam. These are some of the things you're going to have to listen to if you do, in fact, decide to get into this race again. Will she actually do it? Here to react is Stephen A. Smith. He's host of First Take on ESPN and the Stephen A. Smith Show on SiriusXM. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to this show on YouTube and follow me on Insta, Facebook, and X. Here's a question for you. How many brokers does it take to insure your business? If you're like most business owners, the answer is too many. Multiple policies, multiple applications, no clear view of how it all fits together. It's a nightmare. And when questions do come up, it's not easy to get the clarity you need. And when it comes to insurance, you always need it quickly. But Super Sure changes all that. It's a one-stop shop for all of your business insurance, backed by a team that works with you year-round, not just at renewal time. You're not a hassle to them. They actually want to partner with you and make your life easier. And if you've ever stared at a policy, wondering what it actually covers, right? Who hasn't been there? Super Sure has a fine print fax tool that translates the legal jargon into plain English so you know what's covered and what's not, simply and quickly. Right now, you can go to supersure.com and get a full report on your current policies with no obligation. Find out if you're overinsured, if you're underinsured, or somewhere in between. Go to supersure.com. One super agency, one powerful platform. All of your policies in one place. Go to supersure.com/Megyn today. That's supersure.com. And listen, if you currently do not have all your policies in one place, you got this broker and this policy, and that, they will help you with that too. They can help you consolidate everything so it's in one place, and they will run interference for you. Okay? So check it out. Supersure.com/Megyn. Paid for by Supersure Insurance Agency, LLC, a licensed insurance agency. Stephen A., great to see you again.
See you, Megyn. How you doing?
Is she going to do it? Do you think she's going to do it?
Maybe, but it's by default because who else do you have right now that has stepped up? They've had a couple of years. We haven't seen anybody. You know, I've been on the record talking about how I think they're leaderless right now. Who's the definitive individual? You know, you got a lot of, look at the candidates that you put up there. Gavin Newsom, all you're going to do is look at the state of California and the inordinate amount of problems that they have in that state. And you're going to say, no way in hell. You're going to look at Pete Buttigieg. He doesn't move a lot of people, even though he's respected by some, particularly on the left. He's not going to move a lot of people. You look at Josh Shapiro, obviously the things that have been going on in Israel, the war in Gaza and stuff like that, and the fomenting or the growth of anti-Semitism that's unfortunately been sifting through this country. You know that's going to be something that's going to be counted against him. Senator Mark Kelly, I don't know how much he's going to resonate with people right now. The only thing that he's done that we've really, really noticed and paid attention to is the fact that, you know what, Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump definitely went after him after he, you know, played a part with the videos instructing U.S. soldiers not to follow illegal orders. And, you know, I took a lot of heat when I called him on the carpet for that because I was saying, I can say that, American civilians can say that, but every military person that I've spoken to says if you serve in the military, you know better than doing that because essentially you're implying that the commander-in-chief would give an illegal order. And that in and of itself can cause you trouble. So you have to know better than coming out and being a part of that kind of noise that was aimed in the direction of the president and the Secretary of Defense, or obviously the Secretary of the Department of War. So he didn't know better than that, and now he's got some problems with that. So essentially, by default, that means Kamala Harris could be at the top of the heap. I think that would be a mistake, obviously, because I think that she's had her chance, her bites at the apple, not just once but twice. In 2020, she couldn't even make it to Iowa. In this last election, you had 107 days. That's true, but you also had $1.5 billion. You understand? And you were the upgrade from Joe Biden, and you still managed to lose that. I don't know how the Democratic Party will rally behind her being the candidate yet again, particularly after her book was calling out Josh Shapiro one minute, Gavin Newsom the other, et cetera, et cetera. Right. But who knows?
So here's the interesting thing. The Democrats are going to be in a position, if they don't select her, which is the same one they tried to avoid when Biden was forced out. They did not want to be seen as stepping over a black woman, given how important black women are to Democrat elections. So there was a large segment of the Democrat, political class saying, we have no choice. We've got to give it to her. She's the sitting vice president. Like, if we try to bypass her for a Josh Shapiro or somebody like that, we're going to get killed. You cannot bypass a black woman, female, like the VP for a Josh Shapiro, white guy. Well, now we're going to have a primary this time around.
That's right.
And if she gets bypassed, in other words, doesn't win, and she loses to the guy who's in the number 2 position, who is a white, straight, male Christian, Gavin Newsom, are they in the same position of having to look like they
you ain't gotta worry about that.
cast her aside? They didn't want the black woman.
No. You ain't got to worry about that. I think that if you're the Democratic Party, you're looking at certain things that the president and his administration have been doing. Obviously, if you're on the left, you disagree with a couple of things. You're looking at the employment gap. You're looking at the big, beautiful bill that they don't believe hasn't been that big and beautiful. Nearly $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid, and obviously about $187 billion when it came to the SNAP program and stuff like that. You're looking at federal employees that obviously a lot of black folks, are definitely federal employees, and the dissipation that has taken place there. So your thinking is, desperate times call for desperate measures. This man has to be gone, even though he's going to be scheduled to be gone in 2028 because he's not going to circumvent the 22nd Amendment of the Constitution and run for a 3rd term. So now you're looking at JD Vance, you're looking at a Marco Rubio potentially, or who knows who else. And that's going to be your competition. Their mentality is going to be, and it needs to be, whatever it takes. We don't care if it's male, it's female, it's black, it's white. We got to win because you don't have the House, you don't have the Senate, and you don't have the White House. And you got to hope that all of this momentum that seems to be shifting or tilting a little bit left is something that's going to be to your benefit come the midterms, but you don't even know that as of yet. So because of that reality, I think that they understand that it can't be about what the Democrats, in my opinion, have done since Obama. They didn't do this with Obama, Megyn. But since Obama, this is the one thing that I have railed against the Democratic Party for a long time about. The Republicans constituent out there, give them credit for this. You put DeSantis, Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, or whomever in their face, and they said, the hell with all of you. We want him, as in Donald Trump. The Democratic Party, whether it was Hillary Rodham Clinton, whether it was Joe Biden, whether it was Kamala Harris, they said as a party, this is who we want to the voters, and we're picking your candidates for you. That is the difference that has hurt the Democratic Party. They haven't been about the people. And until they get back to being that, they ain't going to stand a chance against the right because the people on the right are picking the candidates. That is not the case with the left, at least the last 3 elections. And that's what has to change.
So what's interesting from my perspective, though, is if they go with Gavin Newsom, let's just say, because he's second in command there on the polls, California is a disaster,
right,
Stephen. It's a disaster. Every metric. Steve Hilton was on the other day, Republican front runner, period, not just Republican front runner for the California gubernatorial race right now, and was ticking through the number of stats, like economic stats, on how California has collapsed. Its education system has collapsed. Its economy, the only reason they have anything positive to report on it is because so many people live in California. So if you just look at the number of dollars earned, it'll look big, but that's not because of government. It's in spite of government. Today, there is an article out in City Journal, a great publication, all about how they're giving out transgender care to illegals who they're housing in homeless shelters in California right now. So you're illegal. You are taking the spot of an American in a homeless shelter. On top of that, you get taxpayer-funded transgender hormones, whatever it is, including surgeries. One of the people that they interviewed said he got breast implants on the taxpayer dime and was waiting for his so-called bottom surgery on the taxpayer dime as well. I mean, we have the soundbite? Okay, let's watch that.
Okay. What is your name again?
Jacqueline.
Yeah. Jacqueline.
This is the first time I live in a shelter.
Yeah. A lot of Latino here, so definitely some are migrants or undocumented.
I think, yeah. And me as a trans woman, I feel safe.
Were you able to get the hormones or,
Yeah, I did that with my doctor.
So Medi-Cal, you got the breast implants.
Yes.
Wow, taxpayer funded. So here in California, they gave you the breast implant here,
Yes.
free.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Do you feel like that's a good benefit for other migrants here in California?
Yeah, even though you're undocumented, you can get it.
Did you do bottom surgery?
I'm waiting for that one.
Wow, you're waiting for bottom surgery. Okay. Are you happy with the results?
Yes.
How does the governor of that state become the Democrat nominee?
I'm going to tell you how. And this is where it gets really, really tricky. But I'm going to say this, especially to somebody like you and others on the right. When we look at some folks, and you know, I'm a registered independent, lean left on social issues, lean right fiscally.
Same.
We know that. Here's my deal. And
I'm a registered independent
got
too.
Got you.
Lean
I didn't
right.
know that, Megan, but thank you for telling me that. Here's the deal. And this is what people haven't accepted. When it comes to the progressive left, folks are looking at some place like the example that you just pointed out in the state of California. And Megan, what they're thinking is, oh, it's incompetence. It's incompetence reigning. Look at what they're doing, right? These people, they just don't know any better. No, they do. They don't care. You have some people in this country that hate America, and they want to see it burn, figuratively speaking. They want to see wholesale changes. Some of them do, whether it's migrants legally or illegally here, or some of the progressives, the extreme, I'm talking about the extreme left, not the centrist, but the extreme left. You have some of these people that want to see America dismantled by the seams. And a lot of people think they don't know what they're doing. No, they want that to happen. They want America to resemble a socialist state. They want that. And so a lot of times people are not accepting that. They're like this. You got to see what Gavin Newsom in California is doing. You can't like that. No, there are people there that do like it. I've seen people that said, I'll tell you a little quick story, Megan. I had somebody look me in the face and said, I don't give a damn if I have to pay 75% of my money in taxes. As long as everybody in the country has health care, I'm good. I looked at that person and said, you done lost your damn mind. You need to get the hell away from me. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to listen to you. 75% of my money going to taxes to a government that's accumulated over $39 trillion in debt, and I'm supposed to believe they're going to know what to do with my money? You must be on drugs.
Right.
I told the person to get the hell out of my face. I don't even want to talk to you. I don't even want to talk to him, right? And I walked away from him. And it was at the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills. I almost cussed him out there in the hotel lobby. That's how bad it was, because I thought it was ridiculous, right? Here's the flip side, though. Here's where the Republicans have to be careful, because when you say otherwise, you're alluding to the importance of what you've lamented about America first and what has this president been doing. When you look at some of the things that he's been doing, some of the decisions that he has been making, he has not been about America's being first in a lot of people's eyes who supported him. And when you consider that combined with the fact that he ain't running for the next election in 2028, well, who is it that's going to come along that's going to convince you that you need to stand behind them and support them, and that they're going to be about what you voted them to be about? That's where it gets tricky. So now it comes to Gavin Newsom coming down the pipe. Looks very smooth, hair slicked back, looking like a wannabe Pat Riley, former coach, now president of basketball operations. The hair works. The suits look good. He looks very presidential, very articulate,
tall,
smooth, tall, handsome, the whole bit. He looks the part, and he can talk it with the best of them. So you got that going on without having Trump to go up against. And the combination of those two things, if the right ain't careful, you're going to lose. You might be in trouble in the midterms, and you're definitely going to be in trouble in 2028. That's where it all gets very interesting right now.
Yeah. Let's talk about the right in 2028, because right now the right is divided over the war, over the Iran war. And it's, there's definitely a fissure cutting right through the coalition that elected Trump, which includes non-Republicans too, but just, there's the sort of America first, and then there's core MAGA. MAGA kind of by definition is people who just support Trump no matter what he does. And then there's the rest of the Republican Party, which includes a large number of America firsters. Anyway, there's a divide. And it's, I can't really say publicly or in any way that there's a divide between JD Vance and Marco Rubio on the war. What we know from the New York Times is that JD Vance spoke up against it and really strongly pushed Trump not to do it for many reasons, including that it would completely fracture his coalition and the Republican Party. It would violate a campaign promise. And we know that Marco Rubio called, quote, bullshit, that's a quote, on what Netanyahu had promised we could achieve easily when Trump met with him the day before in the Situation Room. So, but as we head towards 2028, and as soon as we're done with these midterms, that contest starts. Those two, whether they're explicit about it or not, are going to be like two silverback gorillas, you know, with each other. Like Rubio's basically said, if JD runs, he's the nominee. But let's face it, Marco Rubio has been running for president and in politics a lot longer than JD Vance, and he may sense some weakness on JD's part because he's so tightly linked to Trump, more so, you could make the case, than Marco, even though they're both very linked. And maybe he's going to sense an opportunity, Stephen A. And I don't know whether he's going to want to let it pass him by this go round or whether he might contest this or sort of just generate a bunch of press that's damaging to JD to the point where it's like, for the good of the party, I got to do it, which is going to not heal the rift. It's going to divide MAGA further, right? Everybody's going to choose their guy and have a fight. And then do the GOPers go into the real contest weakened because they are likely to have a pretty brutal primary battle of their own? Maybe I shouldn't say are likely to. They might. Okay. They might.
Well, from my centrist vantage point, I'm going to tell you that I favor Marco Rubio heavily. Former senator, Secretary of State, National Security Advisor. I think that he has comported himself like an adult in the room. And when I think about the presidency, I think that's incredibly important. He can snap back at somebody with the best of them, as he snapped back at the Democratic senator that said if he had to do it all over again, he wouldn't have voted for him. And Marco Rubio, that soundbite, Megyn, I'm sure you know of it, where he says, I consider that a compliment. That means I'm doing my job, you know, because Marco Rubio has comported himself like an adult in the room. I don't trust JD Vance. I just don't. And the reason
why?
Because I think he aspires to be Trump-like instead of being his own man. That's my personal impression of what I see when I see him. I'm not questioning his acumen, his knowledge, his political savviness. I thought when he debated on the stage against Tim Walz, not that that was a big deal as we've come to learn, but I thought that he took him to school during the vice presidential debates and stuff like that. But I think that, you know, the folks that on too many occasions, he doesn't seem to be an individual that would be interested in governing for all. It would be in governing for his clique of people. Whereas when I think about Marco Rubio, I think that he's more expansive than that. And I think he's more of a presidential figure. That's just my personal opinion. Having said all of that, there is no doubt that JD will be formidable. He's young, he's smart, he's sharp. We all know this. But I also think that, you know, one of the things that I've been on the record that really disgusts me is the fawning over the president, which is why I appreciate some of the things that I've been seeing from you lately when you've been going after Trump. You can agree with him all day. I don't care about that, Megyn. If you agree, you agree. If you disagree, you disagree. But it's the fawning. I literally, when I appeared on Real Time with Bill Maher, I literally said, if you're bringing these folks, if you're bringing him a cup of coffee, you have to pause and talk about how wonderful and marvelous he is, and he does everything right, and with the great leadership. It's like, wait a minute now, just do your damn job. The one person that has that has represented that kind of veneer, that kind of ambiance and persona about himself is Marco Rubio. Ain't about that. He's about doing the job, whatever the job calls for him to do. I don't get that impression from JD, and I think the reason why that's relevant is because when you look come 2028, yeah, it might require some kind of endorsement from Trump to some degree, but there's tens of millions of people that are against Trump. And when you see somebody who ain't him that aspires to be Trump-like, it could end up counting against them. I don't think that's something Marco Rubio has to worry about, and I certainly don't believe that we'll be in a position to question his qualifications. If he is the GOP nominee for the presidency of the United States of America, particularly in a country where we have millions upon millions of people here who weren't born here, or who even were born here, but come from Latino ancestry and things of that nature. The fact that he's bilingual, that his ancestors are Cuban, that he's as smart as a whip, that he is as accomplished and knows where the bodies lie, per se, because of the positions that he's held within our government, I think goes a long way towards making him a far more formidable candidate than J.D. Vance, in my humble estimation.
That's all very interesting, and I completely agree with you on the weird fawning comments nonstop, like at the cabinet meetings and like even like the press conferences when the FBI announced that they had captured the pipe bomber. It's like, oh my God, all right, it's very Pravda-esque. Just stop. We don't do that here in America. Just get down to business.
Get down to business.
We get it. You're trying to like pander to the boss. Do it on your own time, right? We have business to take
It's just
care
like when people come at you, they'll say something about Megyn Kelly. I was like, wait a minute now. She feels the way she feels. She's attacking the issues. Now, if you agree with her, agree with her. If you disagree with her, disagree with her. But don't tell me she's kissing anybody's behind. That ain't the Megyn Kelly I see. Oh, I don't know what the hell you talking about.
Yeah.
She don't play that game.
No,
so let's stop that nonsense.
I think there are a lot of people who would love it if I kissed a lot more, but I'm not built like that.
Neither am I.
I admire the president, and I remain a supporter. I'm very against the war, so there's no way I can have a relationship.
I'm not a
Stephen,
supporter.
you're in the same business.
I haven't been a supporter of him.
You can't have a direct relationship, an honest relationship with your audience unless you tell them how you actually feel.
That's true. Totally true. Totally true. And I'm not satisfied. I don't like listen, I interviewed Leon Panetta, former White House Chief of Staff, former CIA Director, former Secretary of Defense. I interviewed him yesterday. And one of the things that he made a point of, and you need to know this, not that you don't, you probably do, but just in case you didn't see the interview yesterday, he said, hey, Trump was right to attack Iran. This is a Democrat now that served under two presidents, in Clinton and Obama. And he said he was right to attack him. He said, but there seems to be no plan. There seems to be no way out. He said, I'm fearful of an endless war, that we walked into this unprepared. That was his issue. My point was, thank God somebody said it. Because I said, am I confused? Did I hear wrong? I saw numerous administrations saying that Iran needed to be dealt with, that they've been killing American citizens and they've been, the number one sponsor of terrorism in this world and all of this other stuff for the last several decades, that we needed to deal with them. So this president goes out and tries to deal with them, and now we're complaining. Leon Panetta's position was different. He was saying, no, I'm not complaining about the initial attack. What I'm complaining about is the clear lack of preparation that obviously is in play, because we don't seem to know what to do with ourselves, and we didn't seem to be prepared for the Strait of Hormuz to be, compromised by the Iranians and stuff like that. He was pointing out all of those things, and I said, okay, that's more like it. That's exactly why people should have a problem with it. So I get where you're coming from with that.
Yeah. Maybe I'd feel differently if we had just gone in, bombed the Ayatollah, and moved out, although that's fraught with peril too, just given the way things are. First of all, he had issued the fatwa saying we're not actually going to do a nuke because he knew the position that would put Iran in. Now we appear to have more radical leadership in there. And on top of that, we killed the leader of Shiite Islam during Ramadan. Like, I've just been, for 25 years covering these wars, and they have ongoing controversies. It'll result in domestic terror. Americans will get killed as a result of this because we create jihadis and more extremists. And fighting these insurgencies, which is what these wars turn into, has proven very, very tricky for American forces. It's like General Stanley McChrystal said at the beginning. He said, if you like, those who are cheering the war, I hope you enjoy this phase of the bombs dropping, because this is the best phase of war, where our guys are stellar out there. They have precision accuracy for the most part. There was a serious misstep with the bombing of that girls' school. And he's saying it goes downhill from here, because getting out of wars is a lot trickier than starting them.
To me, here's where the right you have to make a decision. That would mean, in some people's eyes, that more diplomacy is the order of the day, because you don't want to engage in regime change, which obviously this could end up leading to, because if you kill the leader but his son is the successor, well, that hostility is not going to dissipate. If anything, it's going to grow, and it's going to make more enemies for the United States, right? So what's the answer? When you've had others who tried to engage in diplomacy, that was considered weakness. So now we got a decision to make. Is diplomacy the order of the day, or do we want to send troops and handle our business so we don't have to worry about them having the nuclear weapon? Because when Leon Panetta came on my show yesterday, he said, quote, I have seen the intelligence. They would have had a nuclear weapon in a month.
He has not seen the intelligence. That's a fucking lie.
Okay, that's what he said.
He saw intelligence years ago.
That's what he said.
The current ODNI. Okay, he said it, but the current ODNI, the woman who oversees all of the intelligence agencies, briefed Congress before we did all this and said there is no intelligence that Iran is anywhere close to getting.
Well, he was
the
saying that
nuclear
to
bomb.
support the
None.
president. He was saying that to support the president. But here's what.
I
here's,
agree.
oh, wait, but here's what.
You can say anything you want, but it's not true.
Help me out here, Megan. Help me out here. Let me ask you, because I don't know. I mean, I'm new to this, Megan. I'm new to this. Okay, I'm a baby. I'm taking baby steps. I'm new to this. I need your help. Here's the deal. What am I supposed to believe if you're the former chief of staff of the White House, a former defense secretary, and a former director for the CIA? Is it not possible, even though you ain't supposed to have access to it, that somehow, some way you might have seen things the average person can't see?
He was stripped of all his access to it. Trump, one of the first things Trump did when he took office was to strip all people, including Panetta, of their security clearances so they could no longer have access to anything that you and I can't have access to.
But you've been a reporter for years. You've been an exceptional reporter for years. I've been in the business for many years on the sports side, right? We've made a career of getting access to stuff we ain't supposed to have access to, Megan. I know you have.
So you're telling me that. So
I know you have.
Why would Tulsi Gabbard, who unquestionably has access to all of it, brief in her official role, brief Congress just weeks before we started this war by saying there is no intelligence that Iran is close to getting the nuclear bomb. And it wasn't just them. International authorities, no intercontinental ballistic missiles for at least a decade. I mean, I could go down the list.
Don't confuse it. I'm not pretending.
Trump who said I had a feeling.
I'm not pretending to know. I'm saying to you, us being in the business, we've made a career by getting access to stuff that the average person doesn't get access to. What I'm saying to you.
But I'm trying to see your theory through. So Leon Panetta, even though he's been out of office, public office for a decade plus, he had access to super secret information that they were close to getting a bomb that neither the president nor Tulsi Gabbard, the current director of national intelligence, had access to.
No, I'm not saying. No, he never implied that. What I'm saying to you is this.
He's going off of old info.
Okay, that's fine. And I'm saying to you, in my mind, here's what I was thinking. That's all. It's possible that when you've been in government for spanning decades the way that he has been, these same people that are looking in front of your face saying, we want nothing to do with you, they don't talk to you, we ain't giving you access to a damn thing, we ain't giving you access to shit, might be the one come asking him his opinion about something. Here, take a look at this. What do you think? I'm saying to you it happens. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if it happened here. Yeah. I don't know what truth it is. I'm just saying it's plausible. It's possible.
It didn't, unless Tulsi Gabbard is a complete liar, which she's not. She's not.
I don't know her, so I won't
she would not have misled the president about something this serious. I mean, absolutely not. So, look, I see your point, but the other problem with Leon Panetta is, in the same way as surgeon wants to cut and a hammer wants to hit, somebody in his role, of course, is going to say, I'm in favor of this. Are they just... That's exactly what somebody who's held the roles that Leon Panetta has held would say. Like, yes, okay, great, we're going to do that. Ask a military general. Most of them say, like, yeah, we did the right thing. There's a different segment of the populace that spends its time working with veterans, interviewing veterans, like having covered those two wars night and day, nonstop, that hears from a different class of military expert. And those are the guys who wanted Trump elected. Those are the guys who thought they had somebody who understood them in Pete Hegseth's role, who are very angry. So many of them very angry about this and feel a betrayal on a very deep level because they were promised no more Middle East wars. Not just no more war, no more wars in the Middle East. It'd be a distraction. It'd be incredibly expensive. Trump said all of that. And yes, he was saying Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, which is why people gave him a lot of berth when he bombed them in June. And then told us the facilities were obliterated, and we supported him. And then he launched a war anyway.
Right. So in other words, when he bombed their nuclear sites last June, right, and he said we obliterated them and it was over, your position is that it was supposed to be done. No further action was supposed to be necessary. You've lied to us. Is that what you're saying about President Trump?
At that point, I didn't sense a lie.
No, I'm not talking about at that point.
Okay,
I'm talking about now.
Is risky.
I'm talking about now. That's what you're feeling like you were lied to.
I mean, I don't know if he lied or if he just went back on a campaign promise. But it was an extremely important campaign promise. Extremely. And so, like, this is not one of those, like, oh, you know, I'll build the wall. But he doesn't build the full wall. He builds, like, portions of the wall, and other portions of it are electronic. And you're like, I don't love that, but I can live with it. You know, the border is closed. This one's really fundamental to why many of us voted for him. It was extremely important that he not do this. And I mean, look, I'm not going to have to go fight in a war, but I do have 3 kids, including 2 boys. And the draft has now just been made easier than ever because they're doing automatic registrations for it now, starting in December. Anyway, my point is simply, it's personal, and the vets I've talked to are very against it. Guys who have actually lost limbs, really lost blood and treasure, and he barely even tried to explain it to us, Stephen A.
Right.
Barely
Well, I
did us the respect of telling us why we were doing it.
I know a few vets myself, and they vibe with your thinking in terms of where we are now. But they also felt that based on the rhetoric they were talking about, how being a month away from Iran having a nuclear weapon, that it was necessary because of Iran's history. So they were thinking something needed to be done because Iran needs to be dealt with because they're sponsoring terrorism and all of this other stuff. I'm trying to build a nuclear weapon. My attitude is, okay, if you're on Trump's side and Trump is saying essentially we had to stop this from happening, it was necessary. Essentially, y'all are saying you don't believe him. The left is saying we've never believed any damn thing about him. So you're falling in line.
I don't believe
you're
him.
You're falling in line with what the left has been saying about his character or character flaws for quite a long time.
I mean, all presidents lie.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
I
look,
agree.
he lies. Joe Biden lied at every turn.
Yeah.
Barack Obama lied in a way that cost millions of people their health care and their lives in some cases. They all lie. Trump's not like, this reporter here has never suggested otherwise. I've said many times prior to the Iran war that Trump does not have an adult relationship with the truth.
Right.
Many, many times. You can Google it. And that's how I feel.
I don't have to Google it. I'll
He's
watch it
fast
when
and
I
loose
can.
with it. We saw it the other day when he tried to claim that that was him as a doctor in that meme and not Jesus. It was such a fucking lie. So obvious. He wouldn't stand by the meme. Okay, take it down and just say you're sorry, or don't say you're sorry, take it down. But don't try to gaslight us.
you.
We can see. So it's just, look, there are some of us who will call Trump out on his bullshit.
Yes,
It doesn't
you
make
do.
me not a Trump supporter.
You do.
I still support him. I want him to succeed. I want him to get back to the beautiful agenda that I voted for, and that still needs fulfilling, and not to be distracted by Iran, which no one cares about the Strait of Hormuz over here.
But in the same breath, and I'm not saying this towards you because I've seen you call him out, but far too many people who have supported him. It's like, even when they're going down, having to admit that he's lied about something or he's disappointed them. I'm like, wait a minute, he's doing far more than that because he's not prioritizing. Like, for example, when you had the shutdown, the partial shutdown, you go a month without doling out $2 billion. You understand, in salaries and stuff like that, TSA work and stuff like that. Well, you know what, Megyn? When you come up with $800 million to $2 billion a day for a war that even folks on the right doesn't think should be happening, that's problematic.
Fair.
So it's one thing, all right, you negotiated with the Democrats. Damn it, you're trying to get what you want. They're trying to get what you want. You're not folding. You're not bending. You're not budging. And the American public has to suffer because of it. But that has happened in the past. It's unfortunate it should have happened. We should never want it to. But it has happened. But when you turn around in the same breath, literally while that is happening, and you're doling out $800 million to $2 billion a day for a war that is highly suspect and questionable, even in the eyes of his supporters, that is where things become fragmented. That's when things start falling apart at the seams, because even those supporters are like, no, I can't vibe with this anymore. That's where the Republican Party is right now. And that's why I think somebody like Marco Rubio got a far better shot than somebody like JD Vance, who I consider to be a Trump wannabe and ain't going to cut it. That's why I say what I say.
I think his problem will be, A, JD Vance if he wants it, and B, the people who are skeptical of Israel now in the Republican Party who think he's too pro. He's taken too many donations from AIPAC. He's too beholden to what's best for Israel as opposed to so he'll be up against that in a way that JD Vance is not. Then there'll be the more neocon faction of the Republican Party that doesn't like JD. And really Trump will have to make a decision about whether he's going to endorse anyone. Well, does he,
I'm just hoping
he a kingmaker or does he let...
I'm just hoping either one of them has somebody formidable on the left to go up against him. That's what I'm hopeful for. Because I don't see it right now.
Yes, well, we have all that fun to look forward to starting November 5th or whatever the day is after the primaries, after the midterms. Stephen A., a pleasure as always.
Same here.
Thanks for coming on.
Of course, no problem.
All right, we're back now with the full Markle story right after this break. And we will be joined by our culture panel, Britt and Witt, in just a minute. Hey, thanks for watching today's full episode. If you're new here, throw us a subscribe. See what you think. Stay in touch. There's plenty more goodness where this one came from. As always, we really do value your feedback. So email me too, Megyn, Megyn at megynkelly.com, or just leave a comment down below. I do read them. I meander over and I scroll through and I find them very entertaining and really appreciate the feedback. But in any event, join the community by becoming a subscriber so you miss nothing. We value your support. We may not always agree on positions, but as you know, I'm very open-minded to people who disagree with me. That's how I learn. So thanks. And thanks for trusting us to always talk about it openly, honestly, and with provocative conversations. There's something refreshing about a company that focuses on integrity and hard work. With Brooklyn Bedding, they build their products in the USA with high-quality materials and real attention to detail, and they deliver it right to your doorstep. Brooklyn Bedding knows sleep is not one size fits all. That is why they offer mattresses for everyone, every sleep style, even in hard-to-find sizes. Sleep hot? Brooklyn Bedding uses Glacio-Text covers, copper-infused foams, and temperature-regulating materials to keep you cool and comfy all night long. They are also one of the few brands endorsed by the American Chiropractic Association for spinal alignment and back health. And you get a 120-night comfort trial with easy returns or swaps. That's great, right? It's like sometimes you don't know until you've actually had a few nights on it, and these guys make that easy. So go to brooklynbedding.com, use our promo code Megyn at checkout, and that'll get you 30% off site-wide. That's a good deal. Okay, the offer's not available anywhere else. brooklynbedding.com, promo code Megyn for 30% off site-wide, and let them know we sent you after checkout. Okay, that helps us, and it gets you 30%. brooklynbedding.com, promo code Megyn. The Duchess of Duplicity and her spare husband are on their faux royal tour in the last gasp at staying relevant. They're over in Australia. Meghan's doing what she does best, making everything about herself. Everything relates to her. But back to me. Enough about me. What do you think of me? While speaking to youth at a mental health organization, she complained about her struggles.
For now 10 years, every day for 10 years, I've been bullied and attacked. And I was the most trolled person in the entire world. Man or woman. And I'm still here.
I can't. Honestly, I just can't. Get over yourself. There's more. Here's the kind of wisdom Markle offered on mental health in the form of a quote she claims to look at every single day.
And a friend of mine gave me a little bag that had a quote on it that I had put on. And I look at it every single day. And I would share it with you because sometimes I can imagine as you talk about depression or anxiety or the willingness or lack of appetite to even want to get out of bed or keep going, that this is the quote that it says, and I think it's important that you remember it, as I try to as well. My wish for you is that you continue to be who and how you are, to astonish a mean world with your acts of kindness, and to allow humor to lighten the burden of your tender heart. And that's my wish for all of you as well. And you can do it. You can do it together. And I'm not going to say it's easy. I will personally tell you it is not easy, but you can do it.
Okay. Her tender heart. Honestly, she is the meanest person to cross the threshold at Buckingham Palace in a couple hundred years. And that's saying something. There's no tender heart. Her father was near death and she ignored him and kept him away from her wedding, and he still hasn't met his grandchildren. So I don't want to be lectured to about her tender heart. It's not in there. It's a heart of stone. She separated her husband from his entire family, from his cancer-stricken grandmother, the Queen, from his cancer-stricken father, now the King. She has managed to remove him from all that made him sound and supported for the entirety of his life to a new country that has absolutely no use for him. None whatsoever. We don't care about royalty over here. They're mildly interesting. We look at their funny outfits. You know, like we care about them because we care about history. We don't care about them like we're going to get down on a knee and fawn over them the way the British people, some faction of them would. So he's unplugged the one thing that made him electric. And he's stuck on some Montecito ranch trying to figure out how to market another polo documentary that no one wants to see. He is rich and out of touch and beyond privileged, just like his rich bitch wife, who wants only for us to feel sorry for her and for them. I mean, like the nonsense about what she's pulling over there is ridiculous. And at one point she said to them, okay, that industry, that $1 billion industry, she's talking about the press, that is completely anchored and predicated on cruelty to get clicks. That's not going to change. So you have to be stronger than that. Okay. First of all, the answer when you see somebody who is suffering with depression or anxiety is not to just say, be stronger. And as you guys know, I'm tough. I'm pretty tough when it comes to these things. I wouldn't look at a suffering person and just say, be stronger. That's not how it works. Nor, again, is their problem the mean press. She's working out her own shit on a bunch of stressed out young people. This is a youth organization for mental health. And she's got to work out her issues with the Daily Mail on them. She's been suing them left and right in the courts. Every time she gets in front of a camera, she raises this because she wants us to know she was allegedly the most trolled person in the world in 2019. Well, you know what, bitch? I might have been the most trolled person in 2018. I'm fine. Stop. There are a lot of us who go through the disgusting media washing machine that whips you around and pulls you and twists you and makes you feel disoriented because they say so many negative things about you. Most of us take it like a man or a woman and kind of move on with our lives instead of reminding everybody at every turn, most trolled person, male or female. It's like, think of like the bad, like Michael Jackson. Everybody thinks he's a pedophile. He's not around to defend himself anymore. But like, I'm going to guess that was worse trolling than you didn't get along with Kate. Like, who does she think she's kidding? It's like, the complete denial of the fact that she made that bed. She made that bed. I went back and just reminded myself of some of the bullying allegations against her. The reporting from Valentine Lowe, who was like the biographer of hers, is really telling. She threatened to sue him. Her people threatened to sue him. They never filed suit. Guess why? Guess why? Don't you think she's very litigious? Don't you think she would have filed suit if Valentine Lowe had been this liar who was just smearing her with absolutely no basis? What about our friend Dan Wooten? Where's the lawsuit against him? He's blown the lid off of multiple Meghan Markle scandals and what a bully she is and how nasty she was to Princess Kate, how she made Kate cry. She denied it. Here's a couple. Her personal assistant, Meghan's, left when she first joined the royal family 6 months after the royal wedding, quit. A week later, the assistant was named in another paper as Melissa Tuabti. Meghan put a lot of demands on her, and it ended up with this gal, Melissa, in tears, a source told him. She was not the first member of staff to leave, but before her, there was another PA, personal assistant, a young woman already employed by the palace. She did not stay long after Meghan arrived. The Duchess could be sharp with those she felt were letting her down. One former staff member said, I had unpleasant experiences with her. I would definitely say humiliated. Another source claimed that Samantha Cohen, who was beloved within the palace, had done many roles, including for the Queen. She could solve anything. She could plan anything. So they gave her their most competent employee, and she became the couple's private secretary. She got bullied by Meghan Markle. They treated her terribly, he reports. This is a quote. Nothing was ever good enough. It was, she doesn't understand. She's failing. In fact, the source said Cohen was a saint and the best organizer of royal tours that they had known. There's more from Valentine Lowe's book. A senior aide discreetly raised with the couple the difficulties caused by Meghan's treatment of staff. This was in late 2017 after the engagement. She didn't even wait until the wedding was secure to start bullying everybody around her. She was said to have replied, it's not my job to coddle people. Okay, I'm not a coddler either, but I work in media. You're trying to join the royal family. You're going to have to be on eggshells. Everyone knows that. You can't run around saying, it's not my job to coddle people. I'm an American. I'm going to do it my way. That makes people dislike you, sister And you can't then run to the media and say, oh, most trolled person. You brought it upon yourself. And person after person within the royal family and the household tried to warn you this would happen because the people you're bullying have these things called mouths and sources of their own who are dying to hear from them for any royal tidbit. And you assumed the risk that they wouldn't say anything about you. But guess what? They did. And now we all know. Meghan spoke particularly harshly at a meeting to a young female member of the team in front of her colleagues. After Meghan had pulled to shreds a plan this person had drawn up, the woman told Meghan that it was going to be hard to implement a new plan. Don't worry, Meghan told her. If there was literally anyone else I could ask to do this, I'd be asking them instead of you. Later, Prince William, who had heard she was a bitch, that's my term, came to find the woman she had bullied. I hope you're okay, he told her. You're doing a really good job. She promptly burst into tears. This woman trying to keep it together, but any sign of empathy, which Prince William was the only one to show her, brought her to tears. Haven't you been there? It's one thing for you to feel sorry for you. When somebody else feels sorry for you, that's the thing that pushes you over the edge on the tears. Once when Meghan felt she had been let down, yet again, everyone disappoints Meghan over an issue that was worrying her. She rang repeatedly when the staffer was out for dinner on a Friday night. Every 10 minutes, I had to go outside to be screamed at by her and Harry, says this employee. It was, I can't believe you've done this. You've let me down. What were you thinking? It went on for hours. Then this guy, Jason Kanoff, who was originally made like the press representative for all four of them, the Fab Four, back when they were getting along and the press was saying nothing but great things about her. He wrote an email in October of, I can't figure out the year here, to his immediate boss, Simon Case, who worked for Prince William, saying he had spoken to the head of HR for the palace about, quote, some very serious problems concerning Meghan's behavior. Writing, quote, I'm very concerned that the Duchess was able to bully 2 PAs out of the household in the past year. The Duchess seems intent on always having someone in her sights. She is bullying, name withheld, and seeking to undermine her confidence. We've had report after report from people who have witnessed unacceptable behavior toward X, despite the universal views from her colleagues that she is a leading talent within the household who's delivering first-rate work. As one source said, there were a lot of broken people, young women who were broken by their behavior. She brought Harry down with her. He sees himself as the protector now. He's going to avenge his mother's death by being tough on anybody who's mean to Meghan. So he's turned into an absolute nightmare too. One member of the staff said, was, quote, completely destroyed by this pair. She regularly belittled people, reported the Daily Mail. They, again, here in an article citing Chief of Staff Josh Kettler, he had left his role after only 3 months. And the Daily Mail citing a source who was actually in the Hollywood Reporter, so it's a report on a report, quote, everyone is terrified of Meghan. She belittles people. She doesn't take advice. They're both poor decision makers. They change their minds frequently. Harry is a very, very charming person, no airs, but he's very much an enabler. And she is just terrible. Another source, she's absolutely relentless. She marches around like a dictator in high heels, fuming and barking orders. I've watched her reduce grown men to tears. Two sources say a colleague with ties to Archetypes, that her ridiculous Spotify podcast all about women and empowering women, took a leave of absence after working on 3 episodes and then left Gimlet, the producer of the podcast series, altogether. Several others described taking extended breaks from work to escape scrutiny, exiting their job altogether, or undergoing long-term therapy after working with her. Quote, I think if Meghan acknowledged her own shortcomings or personal contributions to situations rather than staying trapped in a victim narrative, her perception might be better. Correct. She is trapped in a victim narrative. This is the soundbite I referenced earlier in the show, where she went on one of these world tours with Harry shortly after they were married. And the ITV guy was like, how's it going? And this is how she handled it.
Yeah, well, I guess, and also thank you for asking, because not many people have asked if I'm okay.
Because we don't actually give a shit. You have more privilege than anyone else on earth, literally, except for about 5 people. We assume that things are great. And if they're not great, it's between you and your therapist. It's not for you to complain to the press about non-stop. Honestly, And Harry is just as bad with that stuff I was quoting to you earlier. His mental health messaging, you should not be taking mental health advice from Prince Harry or from her. She was suicidal just a couple years ago. He is describing himself, as I pointed out to you moments ago, as in the fetal position. He said, like, recently in the fetal position, and saying now there's a lot in the world leaving us feeling anxious, stressed, helpless, powerless, and completely overwhelmed. Then he goes on, loss is disorienting at any age. Grief does not disappear because we ignore it. Well, actually, ignoring it may not be such a bad idea, to be honest, Harry. Rumination is what really causes ongoing depression, going over your problems nonstop over and over and over again. But anyway, experiencing that as a kid while in a goldfish bowl under constant surveillance, yes, that will have its challenges. And without purpose, it can break you. There have been many times when I have felt overwhelmed, where I felt lost, betrayed, or completely powerless. Times when the pressure externally and internally felt constant. I mean, you grew up in a palace, multiple palaces, Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace. I'm missing some of the palaces. You were at your every need was taken care of times 20. I was just talking with somebody about this. Catherine Schwarzenegger, who's married to Chris Pratt. You remember Jack Carr was here yesterday. He's great. And Chris Pratt is starring in his series. So then I was like doing a deep dive on Chris Pratt online. He's married to Catherine Schwarzenegger. She started a podcast. She had her dad on the podcast, Arnold. And she said something like, well, you were so good. You made sure that we grew up normal. And Arnold Schwarzenegger was like, hold on. You did not grow up normal. And she was like, oh, well, no, I just mean, he was like, no, you did not grow up normal. Now that's a good father. Not only was their dad Arnold Schwarzenegger, their mother's Maria Shriver. She's a Kennedy. You can do your best to raise normal kids while making sure they know that they are not normal. They have had an enormous privilege handed to them at every turn. They have vacation places that nobody ever vacations. They travel in ways and via means and nobody gets to. Their homes are multi-million dollar. They have connections to industries of enormous power. They have restaurant reservations nobody has. People smile at them greater and are nicer to them and tend to their every whim in a way that doesn't happen for quote unquote normal people. It's like, good for him. Good for Arnold Schwarzenegger. Someone needed to have that conversation with Prince Harry. Desperately needed to have that conversation. Like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm betrayed, and the grief, and it doesn't go, like, would you just stop? You have had everything handed to you. Even when you left the royal family, your stupid Spotify deal and your Netflix deal worth reportedly $150 million together was handed to you. And the way you, quote, earned it was to just dish on your loving family in a Netflix series through the most negative lens, and your country, which you called racist, along with your race-obsessed wife. So, by the way, he was also part of that Oprah interview where they suggested the royal family was full of a bunch of racists, some raging racists, while his own grandfather was dying in the hospital. Remember, they had to run to the press within 24 hours after because people were like, was it the Queen? Was it Prince Philip? Who said this thing about, oh my God, we're concerned about how dark your baby is? Who said it? And how she and Oprah played that up and he allowed it. And then finally they had to put out a statement saying, okay, it wasn't the Queen or Prince Philip. Oh, great. Okay, thanks. So we can remove that stressor from your dying granddad and her with the treatment of her dad. I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of it. No one feels fucking sorry for you. No one. Stop. A lot of us have had massive loss in our lives and have learned to move on. A lot of us have been the subject of absolutely vicious press coverage and have learned to move on. We don't obsess and speak to a bunch of suffering children and try to make it about ourselves. Their 2 minutes are up. They're up. And again, no mental health clinic should be having these two lunatics, narcissistic lunatics, there to speak to anybody about how to deal with mental health. Okay. That's what I wanted to say about Meghan Markle. I'm really glad I got that off my chest. Want to bring in our panel now. It's Britt and Witt time. Britt Mayer, she's founder of Rooted Wings and host of the Britt Mayer Show. And Will Witt, it's really Britt and Will, but we like Britt and Witt, it rhymes. And Will Witt, who's author of Do Not Comply. Team, welcome back. Thoughts, Britt, on the Duchess of Duplicity lecturing these kids on how bad she has had it.
I'll tell you what, Megyn. Like, if I was not awake, I don't even need my coffee after all of that. I am wide awake now. Oh,
it's infuriating.
I mean, it is. We know she's just so duplicitous and fake. And I think that's why we're seeing her tank, her public opinion. No one that I know is still even really talking about her. If she ever had her moments of fame, they are long gone. But it's pathetic to see her at a table trying to convince you that she feels a certain way and she can identify. It just comes off so fake. I'm with you, and I'm wide awake. So thank you for the intro. I don't need my coffee now.
And Will, what's with him? Like, most men try to be men. And like, it doesn't mean you can never show any softness whatsoever, but every time he speaks, it's either a complaint about how his security got taken away and he doesn't want to have to go to the UK anymore because meanwhile, he's got $150 million plus. He can pay for his own security, but it's not good enough for him. Or he's bitching about his mental health, fetal position, overwhelmed, like nonstop without realizing how that sounds coming from him.
Well, victimhood complex in America, and I guess in the UK, is a cancer, and it's very intoxicating to people. And so you have these rich celebrities, and they come on and say, oh, my life is so hard and all this. And it kind of gives normal people the idea that, okay, if these people are victims, then I must really be a victim. My life must really be awful. I go on campus and I do these interviews and debates, and I have students come up to me for 3 hours talking to me. And the biggest thing that I'm talking to these students about is about how my life is so horrible because I'm Black, because I'm a woman, because I'm gay, I'm a victim in any sort of these different things. And it's like there's this trend in psychology that you were talking about with therapists and all that tells people, break down your trauma, break down the things that happened to you so that you can think about them and really ruminate on it. But in reality, if you want to fix yourself and the things that have gone wrong in your life, start making better decisions. Go and be the person that you want to be. Go and be brave and courageous. But they're not giving that message to young men. They're not giving that message to young women. It's all about the victimhood complex and how I can get something out of making people feel bad for me. But I think a lot of people are starting to wake up to the fact this doesn't work. I mean, I look at, him coming and saying these things and I say, what an absolute loser. This is not someone who I want to emulate in my life.
At all. I mean, if those two had shown up and said, you know what really works? Exercise. Go outside, go for a walk, get a dog, interaction with pets, very good for you. Reconnect with family. They can't say that. They've shunned both of their families. He's not on speaking terms with his only brother. He barely speaks to the king. She won't talk to her very ill father or even introduce him to his grandkids. They've completely ostracized themselves, which, by the way, is one of the signs of an unhealthy person. You look around and like there's zero family connections left. It's you. And yet she wants to talk all about family, how it's important to her. Yet when these kids need help, Britt, you have to be like me. Follow my sayings and learn from my experience dealing with negative press, which I guarantee you does not apply to one child who is listening to her.
That's such a good point. And it makes me think that what we've already seen with both of them is that they're opportunists, but they don't really care to help anyone. They only want to help themselves. So it's one big show and you're invited to it, but they're not really there at that table to give any real advice that's going to help these people. They're opportunists, narcissistic opportunists.
All right, now I'm going to switch to Dave Chappelle because I think he's got some similarities to what we're talking about right here. I don't understand this interview at all. I don't totally understand his answers, but what I understand, I object to. And I'm going to show you what he said to this reporter at NPR to whom he gave an interview on like the rage machine. You guys, my team will tell me which they'll run the right one, but he thinks the media has rage baited what he has said in his comedy routines to a place where like the public has been misled. That's how I listen to this. That's how I hear this bit. He said, listen here.
What about people who feel like you're punching down? Like you are not a trans person. And there are people who feel like it's different when you are part of the group that has been attacked, hurt, demeaned, etc. And then if you're outside of the group and you're having commentary about it, it causes feelings. And what do you say to people who feel that in some occasions you're punching down?
That's a tough one for me because so much of that was a media phenomenon. What was happening in actual life, versus how the media was reporting on my show. And I feel like the way they reported on that show was rage baiting to some degree. And there's so many different branches to talk about it. But I would say that, you know, not everything is for everybody. I don't tell country artists what to sing about if I'm not going to go see a country show. You know, if they bought tickets ever, maybe I'd listen. I don't know. They're just never there. I don't even know who's telling them I say these things.
So, I mean, Britt, I know you've been following this because he was a very bold person when it came to speaking about the trans thing. You know, he's been unsparing in a way that you applauded, I applauded. Like, good for him. He was one of the few to say what's real, you know, which is like trannies are not real fake men or whatever. They are actual men, not real women. And now he wants to dismiss it as a media phenomenon. There's actual life, like what he actually said versus how the media reported on it. Here's what he said. Here's just one of the jokes he made when he spoke about the trans issue. Guys, can you play the one that I requested on how gender is really a thing? Watch.
And they've canceled people that are more powerful than me. They canceled J.K. Rowling. My God, J.K. Rowling wrote all the Harry Potter books by herself. She sold so many books, the Bible worries about her. And they canceled her because she said in an interview, and this is not exactly what she said, but effectually, she said gender was a fact. And then the trans community got mad as shit. They started calling her a TERF. I didn't even know what the fuck that was. But I know that trans people make up words to win arguments. I agree, man. Gender is a fact. You have to look at it from a woman's perspective. Person, Caitlyn Jenner was voted Woman of the Year. Her first year as a woman. Ain't that something? Beat every bitch in Detroit. She's better than all of you. Gender is a fact. This is a fact. Every human being in this room, every human being on earth had to pass through the legs of a woman to be on earth. That is a fact.
So then he got ripped by the left wing for those comments. And now he wants to come back and say there's actual life versus how the media reported on it. The media rage baited. I don't know what this is, but to me, it seems like revisionist history. The left got angry over what he said. The right defended him, and he spoke the truth, which he should not be running away from or trying to disavow if that's what he's trying to do at all.
I'm a little confused. Was he trying to say in this interview that the left media is responsible for taking his content and making it rage bait? Or is he saying that
he just said the media?
So, I mean, we all just saw what he said, which I'm cracking up. It's because that's what comedy is supposed to do. Comedy is supposed to punch up, and it's supposed to be something that we can relate to and we can laugh about so we can have serious conversations. But it totally sounds like he's backtracking now, which is a huge disappointment because everything he said in those clips was so completely accurate. And you don't need any media to clip it. He said what he said. So I don't know what he's doing if he's trying to shift his tune now, but that would be a total shame because, wow, that what he said in the past was so well said.
Yeah, it was brave and it was correct. And here's the thing, Will. So you heard him in that clip that I just played saying gender is a fact. Gender is a fact. He called himself Team TERF in the longer clip. And made clear every single one of us here has come out of a woman, like understanding the difference between a woman and a man. And then elsewhere in this interview, he gets angry at Republicans for, quote, weaponizing his jokes. Watch this, SOT 24.
I did resent that the Republican Party ran on transgender jokes. You know, I felt like they were doing a weaponized version of what I was doing. I didn't. It's not what I was doing. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
This is before I learned the phrase "I respectfully decline," and I was on Capitol Hill, and everybody ran up to take pictures with me from every congressional office, and I just take pictures with whoever asked. I didn't ask how they vote or what their voting record is. And everyone at first was like CBC people. And then here comes Lauren Boebert. And she said, can I get a picture? And I'd already taken 40 pictures. I didn't want to say no in front of everybody. But I didn't know the phrase, I respectfully declined. So I just took the picture. And then she posted a picture before I could even get from there to the show and says something to the effect of, just two people that knew that it's just two genders. She instantly like weaponized it or politicized it.
What?
How?
What the heck?
Look, what is he even saying? He's on camera saying gender is a fact. We all came out of a woman. Team TERF. Now he's upset because Lauren Boebert posted a picture saying two people who understand there are two genders. Like he wants to make that a Lauren Boebert problem. She weaponized what he said. No, like take some responsibility, Megyn Chappelle. It's what you said. And you know what? It's controversial. Will says it. Britt says it. I say it. And we take our slings and arrows like grown-ups. And we don't start bitching about somebody who repeats what we said or writes up what we said. It's on you, Dave, not Lauren Boebert, not the media, not Republicans. What is he doing?
Well, it sounds a lot to me like someone got to him, or they had some sort of threat against him. We're going to cancel this, money that you're going to get, or something against. They have something on him. I don't know exactly what it is, but the fact that he was the guy on Comedy Central, making his show, that was the most aggressive show you could go, where he made fun of black people, white people, women, gay people. Really, he made fun of everyone. And that was the beauty of it, that no one was safe, and that it shed light on all these different issues and gave people a really good look at American life in a lot of ways. And so it feels to me like someone must have got to him on something, because I can't imagine him being so weak and coming back in this way and saying, oh, I disavow these things and I disavow Republicans or anything like that. Because he's not coming here and saying, oh, well, the left also came after me in this way and they were super cruel to me and awful. He's not saying that. He's coming and saying the Republicans did it. So it feels like somebody got to him.
And honestly, like, how low, too, to be like, I should have said I respectfully decline. You won't pose for a photo. Had you known it was Lauren Boebert, or had you had it to do over again, you wouldn't have posed for a photo with Lauren Boebert. That's hashtag part of the problem. There's not a person in Congress with whom I wouldn't pose for a photo, unless that guy Scott Wiener gets elected, Britt, in which case
we're out.
We're all going to have a big problem. But that's just whatever. Generally, we put our politics aside when people want photos with us, and you do it, and you're not like a complete ass. And Lauren Boebert is not so beyond the pale that she should be, you can't appear with her in public. I'm sure many people don't want to appear with Eric Swalwell at the moment, but let's be real. She's not so far outside the mainstream. You should be saying, no, I respectfully decline. So get off your high horse, Dave. All right. As we're talking about comedians, Jimmy Kimmel went on the Michelle Obama podcast, which still has about 4 viewers, and had thoughts on why him no longer being funny is just fine. And he stands by it. This is him in SOT 13, I think it is.
And you have so bravely and boldly used your platform to speak truth to power, as they would say.
Well, thank you. I don't think of it as bravely, boldly, maybe. It just seems obvious and unavoidable. And I don't see that. I just can't imagine on those nights talking about anything other than what we are talking about. I think it would be embarrassing if we didn't talk about this stuff. It would be shameful to say that, well, your job is this. It makes me, I bristle at that because, first of all, don't tell me what my job is.
Exactly.
I don't tell you what your job is. My job is whatever I decide my job is, whatever my employer allows me to do. That's what my job is. Comedians have been doing this for a long time. It just shows a great deal of ignorance when it comes to comedy to say, well, Johnny Carson didn't do this. Well, first of all, we're living in a different time. And secondly, how do you know Johnny Carson wouldn't do it? I bet Johnny Carson would talk about it. I bet Johnny Carson would be absolutely mortified by what's going on.
I think you're wrong, Jimmy. Here's SOT 14, 1979.
You get sensitive about the fact that people say he'll never take a serious controversy. Well, I have an answer to that. I said, now, tell me the last time that Jack Benny, Red Skelton, Benny Comedian, use his show to do serious issues. That's not what I'm there for. Can't they see that? But you're not. Why do they think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues? That's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And you know, strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people, and I don't think you should as an entertainer.
Look at that. The difference between humility and hubris, Will, right? One man is humble and understands his role and how valuable it is. It doesn't make you lower not to be speaking out on these dicey issues. It actually makes you elevated in the eyes of the public because you do such a service for them. You make them laugh through these difficult times. The more difficult, the more needed laughter is. But Jimmy Kimmel needs to feel important, self-important, and therefore doesn't care about that lofty goal anymore and smears Johnny Carson by suggesting, you know, Trump is so uniquely bad, even Johnny Carson would break that rule. Listening to that Johnny Carson soundbite, do you think he would break his rule? Is Jimmy Kimmel right?
No, Carson is right as rain in that. I mean, that is exactly what these comedians should be doing. They should be making people laugh, because if you're going to say that the world is so terrible and we're living under fascism and Trump is so bad and all these kind of things, then you should be even stronger trying to make people have that relaxation, those good feelings after they finish work or whatever it is, that they can come home and just have some happiness in their lives. They don't need it from you. You're not an expert. You're not someone who's dealing with these kind of things. Your job, I'm telling you what your job is, Jimmy, is to make us laugh. That is why you are here. That is why you are hired. That is the purpose of your show. And you can leave these types of political topics for people who are better versed in it, who are actually going to give opinions and facts and things that are going to enrich people's lives when they want it. But this is not the time when they actually want it. They want to come on and be entertained after dealing with all the nonsense of the world every day. So Carson was 100% correct.
Yes. Of course, his show is failing. That's what happens when you have Adam Schiff on as your guest instead of Tom Cruise. So, yeah, that's why the Tonight Show is going to go away. One more thought from this. She is so feckless, Michelle Obama. She's always so mean to Brother Craig. Listen to how she begins the show here in SOT 12.
We are very excited about our next guest. And I want to tell a little brief story before we bring him out, because this whole time we were talking about how both of us have been on his show. That's never happened, right?
No, because no one invites you
nobody
on
invites
their
me
show.
anywhere.
Nice. She is so nasty to poor Brother Craig. The whole show is like a vehicle to support Michelle's ego and make her look important, and like everybody wants a piece of her, which no one does anymore. And Brother Craig is just there as like fodder. He's like the background piece that sometimes has to like lob in a supportive comment of her and a self-deprecating one of him. It's just such a pathetic vibe. Anyway, I want to keep going, Britt. Next one's for you. The Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni trial starts on May 17th. I mean, we are now about a month away, almost exactly, right? Is today the 17th? No, today's the 16th. So we're about a month away exactly from this trial. And I think it will go to trial. Like, they are so dug in on their positions, even though her case has largely been gutted. Her sexual harassment case was thrown out. Mostly what remains is her retaliation complaint against him, claiming that because she complained of sexual harassment on the set, he then orchestrated a media campaign against her. And that's a much better case for Justin Baldoni, because he's got tons of proof that those PR experts he brought in, as nasty as their text messages to one another were brought in defensively after Blake Lively had turned on him and started to publicly humiliate him. She was the much bigger star. She's married to a bigger star than both of them. Her best friend was Taylor Swift. And I think Baldoni's got a very good case that he accurately deduced he was about to be ruined by this woman and her so-called dragons, and did not ruin her reputation, but she did that herself in the bad press around their movie. And we've just learned that one of the witnesses the defense, Justin Baldoni's team, is going to call is Kirsty Flaw. Who is Kirsty Flaw? She is, I believe, from the Netherlands, and she is the one who, on a press junket that Blake Lively and Parker Posey, that they were on promoting a movie. And the way the junket works is you get 10 minutes. I've been on I've been the reporter doing one of these where like, you know, NBC gets 10 minutes, you get 10 minutes, CBS gets 10 minutes, Access Hollywood gets 10 minutes, whatever. So she, as this foreign journalist, got 10 minutes with the two of them. And she is the one who sat down and had that incredible moment where she commented, Blake Lively had gone public with the fact that she was pregnant. Yeah. She looked pregnant. And she said something about how cute her baby bump was. And Blake was such a bitch to her. So Kirsty's been called as a witness by the defense, and she is prepared to testify for the defense on how nasty Blake Lively was to her and what happened after this interview. As a reminder, here's the soundbite in SOT 31.
First of all, congrats on your little bump.
Congrats on your little bump.
What about my bump?
You've got two nice ones.
And they are kind of bumps, aren't they?
No, not bumps. The lovely lady lumps. Check it out.
Thank you. Thank you. You like the movie? Are you a Woody Allen fan?
I love most of his movies, and this one was so visually amazing.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Did you guys love wearing those kind of clothes that you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And working in digital.
Everyone wants to talk about the clothes, but I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes.
I would.
I love Jesse's suits and how
that's what I'm saying. His wardrobe was beautiful.
I know.
Corey's wardrobe was gorgeous.
He's
those
so
high-waisted pants.
He's so great.
I would wish men
and
wore high-waisted pants like that still.
Me too.
Or the father with his tank top in bed.
It's so good.
It's not just the women that have the clothes.
But
I feel like the women get the conversation, but it's like
she's such a bitch. And Parker Posey looks terrible there too. Shame on her. And by the way, Kirsty has revealed that, of course, she wasn't pregnant like Blake was and can't get pregnant. So you never know what you're dealing with, which is yet another reason why you don't make those snide, nasty comments, Blake, to somebody who's made 1/1,000,000th of what you have in your wallet right now in her career as a journalist in the Netherlands. Like, how dare you? How dare you be so dismissive and nasty? And again, shame on you, Parker Posey. You've escaped the scorn of people because we're also focused on Blake, who's playing the victim. But you look terrible in that SOT too. So here's Kirsty. She went on our pal Billy Bush's podcast 2 days ago, and she's talked all about it. It was a fascinating exchange. Here's some of it in SOT 32.
All I could think about in that moment was like, is she joking now? You know, are they doing this for real? It didn't really, it couldn't sink in that they were actually being that rude. And while I was sitting there first, I was like, okay, this is not happening. And then I started getting a bit angry. And then I started getting frustrated. And I was like, I just want this to be over with.
Yeah.
And the fact is, I was supposed to have a longer interview and they cut it short. So still, I think it's interesting that they actually let me keep the interview because sometimes, they actually take the tape away if they don't like the
It's their tape.
And you know what? That's so interesting because that just tells you that this was normal Blake Lively behavior.
Yeah.
They weren't even thinking that, she's not behaving very nicely towards this reporter. They were just like, okay, yeah, she's like that with everyone.
They're going to use her to get that tape in front of the jury, Britt. And you tell me how a jury is likely to react to that.
Well, I think the jury is going to react exactly how we all did. It makes you feel really, really uncomfortable. And it paints Blake in such a mean girl light. And even just seeing her facial expressions, it makes you wonder what she's capable and how capable of and how far she will go to secure the next level of whatever it is she's trying to gain. The thing that I have learned is that mean girls always fall, and the bigger they are, the harder the fall. And in this case, I do hope that we get to see a very serious fall. I'm a mom of a son, and this whole Me Too, Believe All Women thing went to such a different level where it concerns me as a mom of a son that women will just automatically default position be believed. And I think we're starting to see the implications of that in real time with someone who is very narcissistic and very, very mean, and honestly probably won't stop at anything to get what she wants. So I hope that's shown to the jury because it's a perfect picture of how ugly and mean women can be.
Oh, it will be. They will use Kirsty to get it into evidence.
Good for her.
She can lay the foundation for it. And they can show it because their defense is going to be, it wasn't Justin's PR team that caused Blake Lively's bad press or her declining popularity. It was Blake Lively herself and the way she conducted herself on camera repeatedly. Here's a little more from Kirsty with Billy Bush, again, on his show 2 days ago. SOT 34.
Seen a bunch of reports lately. She wants to kill a 2009 article where she uses the word tranny. And then, of course, a 2014 article where it's about her wedding to Ryan Reynolds on a plantation. So there you go. You got the LGBTQ community. You've got black people. You've got
She got it all covered.
Yeah.
And now I think what she's been doing the last couple of days, when she's been filing all this stuff that she doesn't want the public to see. And by doing that, she just reminds everyone of all the bad PR she's received before this. So everything that she doesn't want the jury to know, she's making sure that the public knows. And her whole point of this lawsuit is to convince the public that she is, a nice person and that she's supposed to be really popular. So it's really everything she does just backfires on her in such a stupid way.
Here's my question. One of the interesting things, Will, is who's going to react more negatively, the male jurors or the female jurors?
I don't personally know exactly how they would react in that. I'll be honest with you, Megyn. I hadn't heard of the story before. Maybe I'm too much of a man and didn't even know that Blake Lively, these things were going on beforehand. But what I can say with these kind of things going on is that there's only really two ways to get canceled in Hollywood. And that's either your movies stop making money or you don't align with the leftist principles. And so honestly, with all of this, I feel it's very sad that Blake Lively is going to be completely fine after this, and that nothing is going to actually happen to her. She's going to continue to get cast in films and all of this. And these are just the kind of things that the American people deal with as long as they have the right opinions and they keep making money. And I find that very sad. And maybe that's part of the reason why I'm not so involved with Hollywood culture, because these people, their lives and the way they treat people and how they act is just so irrelevant to the way that I try and live my life. But I unfortunately don't think anything's actually going to even happen to her in a negative light.
I'll say I think women are going to respond more negatively to it, but I think men are going to be right there. They're going to be right there too, because they're going to feel protective of Kirsty. They're not going to like this rich bitch putting down this earnest, sweet reporter who was doing nothing wrong, and they'll feel protective of her. But the women are going to make her pay. They are not going to like that. We've all been on the receiving end of that mean girl shit, Britt. And this little sweet act that she can get away with when she sits in front of like a Hollywood press where she doesn't take questions. She's just in front of the camera glowing like, oh, poor me. It's not going to fly when she's under cross-examination and she's got somebody like that the jury gets to see.
I honestly, I love you. I actually think that this is going to kill her career. I don't think that she's going to go much further than this. And I agree, right? We know that Hollywood is left and all of their agenda, but I think she way overplayed her hand. And I don't think women are going to be showing up to see her movies anymore. I know that the overall tone on Blake Lively and even her fallout, I think now with Taylor Swift and some of the other Brittany Mahata or whoever she is, like the NFL wife, there's been a lot of fallout in her,
Mahomes.
There you go, in her inner circles that I think signals a larger fallout where I just don't think people are going to show up and watch her in a romance film and be thinking, oh, I wish I could be her, which is really the play for women's emotions. So I think she overplayed it. And I personally think she's done.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think she's in an Amber Heard situation at the end of this trial where
totally agree.
She's got nothing.
Yeah.
She's got nothing. Here's another sampling, by the way, of her during the promotion of a film about domestic violence and her messaging at the time, SOT 35.
And It Ends With Us is in theaters now. So grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it.
So if someone
understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you, what's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
Like asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share. Or I could just location share you, and then we could. So we're making the hot chocolate cookies that Atlas makes for young Lily in our movie It Ends With Us. You guys, we talked about our movie Not At All. Thanks for joining us. In theaters, August 9th. Yeah. That's a wrap, guys. We got it.
I think she's done. I think she's cooked. I don't like her. Just judging off of that, I have such a bad taste in my mouth. I don't like her, and I think that's going to be the overall takeaway in the macro. I don't think people are going to be showing up to watch her anymore.
Well, I think it's interesting. Will doesn't know anything about this. In the time we have left, how do you like her? What's your impression of her?
I used to have a big crush on her as a kid. So I thought she was beautiful. Okay. You know, I saw her in one movie. I thought she looked great, but I guess now I don't have a crush on her. You know, me and Blake Lively, it's over for us. So I'm sorry, Blake.
This was a crush. This was a hard fall for you, Will. Sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, but no, of course. I mean, that's total mean girl behavior, and it's indicative of the people who are in Hollywood who never have anyone tell them no. They constantly get told yes, they can't do any wrong, and this is how they act, and they treat people like garbage. And so this isn't surprising at all that her true colors are coming out. And yeah, I don't think very highly of her at all, or really anyone in Hollywood, to be honest. There's very few people there who I respect.
It's really just surprising she did it on camera, you know, but you're right. It's a function of her narcissism and her being told how wonderful she is, that she thinks she can do this and everyone's going to be on her side, and she's always right. All right, Britt, can you stay over? My team says you can stay a little. I know Will's got to run. All right, stay around because there's a couple things I need to get to with you. Okay, we'll be right back. Don't go away. When you are in a business growth mindset, you know how much the basic stuff matters, like how you talk to customers or clients and keep your team aligned. A more modern setup makes everything run smoother. So I want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Quo, spelled Quo, like quote, but without the TE. The modern alternative to running your business communications. Quo works right from an app on your phone or computer and lets you keep your existing number, add new numbers or teammates, and sync your CRM. Your entire team can handle calls and texts from one shared number, so there's no missed messages. Love that. And Quo's AI automatically logs calls, generates summaries, and highlights next steps so nothing gets lost. It's like adding another teammate. It can even qualify leads or respond after hours, ensuring your business stays responsive. Make this the season where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free. Plus, get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to QUO.com/Megyn. That's QUO.com/MK. Not Megan, just MK. It's easier. You don't have to remember how to spell my name. Quo. No missed calls, no missed connections. Check it out. Quo.com. If you're looking to make smarter choices for your health this year, consider Riverbend Ranch. Their steaks are so good, but they also contain real high-quality protein that helps fuel your body. Beef is a complete protein, and it contains all 9 essential amino acids your body needs to function. It also keeps you fuller for longer, reducing cravings and snacking. But here's the key. Not all beef is created equal. The quality of the beef depends entirely on how it is raised and where it comes from. And that's where Riverbend Ranch stands apart. For more than 35 years, Riverbend Ranch has been building an elite Black Angus herd, carefully selecting cattle for exceptional flavor and tenderness. All Riverbend Ranch cattle are born and raised right here in the USA. They never use growth hormones or antibiotics, and the beef is processed at the ranch in their award-winning USDA-inspected facility. No shortcuts, no middlemen, just incredible, healthy, and flavorful beef shipped directly to your home. Order today at riverbendranch.com and use the promo code Megyn for $20 off your first order. Britt, a couple things that I wanted to talk to you about. First of all, I don't know if you ever watched or are familiar with the show Malcolm in the Middle, but it's like a, family show, wholesome, like kind of universally safe. Well, it's getting a reboot, and it's getting a reboot with a female character who is non-binary.
Great.
Says at 5 she started to feel wrong. Here's the soundbite, SOT 36.
I was like 5 when I started feeling wrong.
thought I was great at hiding it because you guys never said anything. But then I had this one really shitty day in the 5th grade, the other kids and even my teacher. When I had little kid problems, I'd just go to Dad and he'd clown around and make me feel better. And I wanted to do that, but instead I just blurted out, "Dad, am I wrong?" And he was looking at me, and I knew that he knew and had always known.
Okay. Now we have to have a non-binary in the reboot. And apparently the show creators have said, let's see, it's Tracy Katsky is the executive producer, along with Linwood Boomer, their husband and wife together. And they say, Katsky, the wife, says, "I got to tell you, it's a really important thing to us. 3 out of our 4 children are queer." And so without making it a thing or without making it an issue, I think it's really nice to have a character that's just a facet of their personality as opposed to the entire story. Your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts just watching that clip, I do remember Malcolm in the Middle because I think that was like a big show back in the day. I didn't know that they were doing a reboot, but it's poison. That is why my kids do not watch cable, because everything that is hurled at them with this debase ideology is so confusing. Even watching that as an adult, it's confusing. I don't what are you trying to say? You went to your dad because you were having little kid problems, and then your dad said, "I've always known." But what that communicates to a kid is that when you are confused about bigger things that your frontal cortex can't fully process, maybe you're a boy. Maybe you just should tell your parents you're a boy. It's poisonous and it's toxic and it causes irreparable damage. Ultimately, it is child abuse on TV screens. I am so sick and tired of the target being our kids through reboots and through whatever that poison is and wherever that poison comes from.
The more they slip it into our culture as normal, the more children are going to be attracted to it. And parents, the vast majority of them will have no idea that the reboot of Malcolm in the Middle, starring Frankie Muniz, who is back now as the adult, is going to be anything other than super family friendly. They're just going to have like, wow, or they're going to let their kids watch it when they're not around and have this very sick ideology shoved down their children's throats while they are trusting and making dinner and not really paying attention.
Exactly.
This is how kids get pulled down this lane, Britt. But it used to be they'd have to go on Reddit at least or spend hours and hours on YouTube. Now it's going to be on mainstream programming.
You make a good point, though, that parents wouldn't expect that. You know, I know that they're doing a reboot of Little House on the Prairie. I don't know what to expect there either. But as a as a mom in this day and age, that's why we have to be so on it. And we don't have time to watch everything and screen everything. Thank the Lord for Hail Mary that I could actually take my kids to and there wasn't anything shoved at them. We want more of that. We want more of the feel good where I can take my kids to see a show and we all enjoy it. We feel so good after leaving. But if that crap was on my TV screen, you know how confusing that would be to not my kids, because my kids are well aware of the poison, but to so many kids across America who would just sit there and think, you know what? I kind of feel confused about whatever it is. Maybe I'm a boy. Maybe I identify. And that's the poison. It is so sadistic. It is so abusive. And then they get handed over to the therapists who tell them, yeah, you are a boy. And then they get handed over to the machine of medicine that puts them on poison to stop their puberty. And then they end up on cutting machines where their bodies are irreparably damaged for life. It is so sick. It is one of the greatest sins in America. And I hate that it's still being pushed. I hate it, hate it, hate it.
Yeah. Yes. There's a soundbite making the news from Elizabeth Banks, the actress, saying she can't believe that 52% of white women voted for Trump over Kamala Harris. And she feels like, we've abandoned her and we just did the wrong thing. And how could we? And it's like, you know how we could? this.
Exactly.
This shit.
Yep.
We actually care about our children. We want our boys to say boys and our girls to say girls. And we don't want people like you, Elizabeth, getting their hands on them and giving them any mixed messages about what's possible when it comes to gender, sex, etc. Very easily, and would obviously vote for Trump again.
Yes.
It doesn't matter around war or not, like 100% would pull the lever for Trump again. Over a Kamala Harris, you got to be crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy talk.
I was just thinking that this morning. I was actually going through everything going on, right, with Trump and the administration. And there's so much to say on that side of why there's a lot of people who aren't loving him anymore, right? And I get that, the geopolitical lens. But as a mom, I'm telling you, moms read the room different. And moms understand why he was and still is the better alternative, because it comes down to our kids.
Easily. I mean, we're not judging him against any other Republicans. We're judging him against Kamala Harris, a truly radical person. Yeah. Now, speaking of the controversy around Trump, the big one this week has been his fight with the Pope. And on top of that, him posting this picture of himself as Jesus, which then he did the rare thing. He actually took it down. He got so much blowback on that from Christians that he took it down. But then in my view, he did the wrong thing because he lied about it and said, "Oh, I didn't know I was Jesus. I thought I was a doctor." I don't believe one word of that. It's like, just don't lie. Just say, "I took it down. Thought it would be funny." Whatever. Enough people were offended that I took it down, but he didn't. So Joy Behar and the ladies of The View decided to weigh in on this, and listen to what Joy Behar said. Listen to where Joy Behar took it in like the most. This is actually genuinely funny. Watch.
Jesus really himself did not run around saying, "I'm the Messiah. I'm the Messiah."
Jesus kind of did say he was
You're
the
supposed to have a little bit of...
That's exactly what Jesus said. I am the Messiah.
You know what? No, he did not.
It's been a minute since
Here's the thing.
The Pope's got him. He's got God behind.
She just said, "I knew Jesus." Jesus was not narcissistic like this guy.
And but when you are the Messiah, it's not narcissism to say it.
Yes, it is.
When you are the Messiah.
I'm going to move this along because this is like, it's too much for me.
Too stupid even for Whoopi. Okay. Yeah, Jesus did run around saying, "I am the Messiah." It's kind of why all the Jews got mad at him and brought him over to the Romans saying, "Let's get rid of this guy. He's claiming he's God." Like, honestly, that is incredibly ignorant, even for The View.
I mean, The View has a very low threshold, but I saw that clip and I was thinking, wait a second, you know, I'm a cradle Protestant, so I was raised in the church. I actually was planning to go to study MDiv years ago. That was my passion, was theology, and it didn't end up working out that way. But I have been a student of the Bible for a really long time. And when I was watching that, I'm thinking, wait a second, at the very beginning of Jesus's ministry, there's a story of him in John where he meets with a Samaritan woman at a well. And she tells him, like, my people have been waiting for a Messiah. And Jesus's response at the very beginning of his ministry is, "I am he." So just hearing Joy reduce him to what they always do, right? He's a mascot. He's a cute guy in a white flowy suit. I think it showcases how media doesn't understand Jesus. And, you know, yeah, was it funny? But it was so theologically wrong. Jesus absolutely claimed to be the Messiah. And like you said, it's what got him in a lot of trouble and ultimately on the cross. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's sort of a basic tenet. I don't know what Joy's religion is, but it's sort of a basic tenet of Judeo. Well, they don't believe that he was the Messiah, but they understand he said it. Christian, beliefs. So the level of ignorance was kind of stunning over there.
And it's pushed as so factual.
On the subject.
It's that's what's so ridiculous.
Oh my God.
Is it's pushed as if she is a pastor. She is a theologian. She knows he would never, because you would be so narcissistic. Am I narcissistic to claim my name's Britt? Like, it's just so ridiculous.
Right. It was actually really stunning. And she doubled and tripled and quadrupled down on it. It was actually very amusing to me. Like, there was no even sense of like, wait, am I out on a limb here that I want to from? Nope. Okay. On the subject of theology making its way into the White House a lot, President Trump taking on the Pope and posing as Jesus. I've got to talk to you about Pete Hegseth. I'm a fan of Pete's. I helped get him this job. He would be the first to tell you that. However, I am not a fan of the praying and the constant references to God, Jesus, and the Bible from the Pentagon while he's announcing war plans. It makes me very uncomfortable. Very. I do not think those two things belong together. I much prefer the Dan Raisin Cane approach of just the facts. The religion, obviously, it's a major part of Pete's life. That's great, and I'm in favor of that. It doesn't belong when you're talking about our plans to wipe out people, including possible civilians, as President Trump continues to threaten. These two things do not belong together, and I'm really uncomfortable with it. If Joe Biden did this through his Pentagon, I would have ripped him a new one, and therefore, notwithstanding my friendship with Pete, I feel the need to register my strong objection to what he's doing. Today, he did it about, I'm going to play you the soundbite. You're going to hear a long wind-up on a religious story he told about his time in church this past Sunday. He's talking, you will ultimately learn at the end of it, I think it's beneficial to know right now, about the press. He's going to turn this whole thing, this story he's going to tell us, around on the horrible press, which is like another, like, what is he doing? You do not, in that post, bring up Jesus to rip on media from your perch at the Pentagon. Here's what happened.
This past Sunday, I was sitting in church with my family, and our minister preached from the book of Mark, the 3rd chapter. And in the passage, Jesus entered a synagogue and healed a man with a withered hand. The Pharisees came to watch. And as the scripture reads, they came to see whether Jesus would heal him, or he would heal him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. You see, the Pharisees, the so-called and self-appointed elites of their time, they were there to witness, to write everything down, to report. But their hearts were hardened. Even though they witnessed a literal miracle, it didn't matter. They were only there to explain away the goodness in pursuit of their agenda. As the passage ends, the Pharisees went out and immediately held counsel against him, how to destroy him. I sat there in church and I thought, our press are just like these Pharisees. Not all of you, not all of you, but the legacy Trump-hating press.
Okay. Your thoughts on that and this administration's increasingly frequent use of Catholicism and Christianity and Jesus himself to make a political point.
Yeah, I mean, that makes me uncomfortable too. I was there with the windup. I'm kind of waiting, where are you going to connect the dots here? What you're saying is accurate, the story you're painting, but how are you going to connect it? And then when it turns and you're relating a very deeply theological issue to the press, yeah, that rubs me wrong. It's not a good connection. It's taken totally out of context. What I will say is that historically, we have had leaders in America who have called upon the Bible and theology to support missions or policies. So I'm not as uncomfortable, with that. I think it needs to be treaded with very much care, and never to take the name Jesus or to take a meme or to take a Bible story and then twist it, because anyone can do that. And that's where religion and politics can be very, very dangerous and manipulated and used for very, very bad means. So I think we have to be very careful. Do I trust Pete Hegseth much more than I would, say, Biden or Kamala spewing Bible verses? Yes. Am I also a little weary and concerned about how Bible verses are used when it comes to politics? Yes. I have a blanket distrust on how it can be used and taken out of context. Obviously, I'm very concerned about the religious advisor that Trump has closest to him, Paula White. I think that's very dangerous. Yes, very, very dangerous.
She's a nutcase.
Total nutcase. And that's why I think we have to be very careful. But I will say, too, in Romans, we see that there is absolutely a place where, in God's perfect order for human flourishing, God gives government a role. And that role is to protect and to defend and to yield the sword against injustice. So I think that there's a tension. I would say there's a tension held in how religion plays out, and to really make sure that it is not used as a weapon for personal gain.
Yeah, I think as an inspiration, absolutely. References to God in general, totally for them. but the Sunday biblical references, Psalms and so on that we've been getting from Pete Hegseth like regularly as he's announcing who we're going to bomb next or how we're going to kill next it makes me extremely uncomfortable. I'm begging you, Pete, to stop doing that. I think also begging you to stop doing
the platform, right? To like, is that the right place to talk about the man with the withered hand having his hand healed? Because I don't know if that's the right environment, you know, for that. I get if you're on a podcast and you're talking about it as a personal note, but also attaching that story to the press is so far out of bounds. That's not what that story is at all about. And that's where it can become really dangerous. And we have to really tread as Christians with care in all of these issues. Yes, see everything from a biblical lens and worldview, but also we cannot reduce scripture for personal gain or even for political justification of things. I do want to tell you this, Megyn. I think when I saw that picture that Trump posted, because I saw it when it went live, I thought there's no way that Trump really posted that. And sure enough, he did. I thought it was him trolling the Pope. I never thought that it was Jesus. And I know a lot of people, they said, oh, that's a messianic imagery. I thought it was because he's been in this battle of words with the Pope. So I thought it was him showing, look, I am the new Pope in town. And then when he said he was trying to be a doctor, really? So I just think we have to handle all of this stuff with care. I think when you start to bring the religious icons and the religious words into the political square as politicians, you really run the risk of things not landing as they should.
Yep. He and the Pope are in an ongoing battle now. Yep. Battle of words back and forth. And it's like, I realize Trump is always a counterpuncher. The Pope attacked him first, but it's like, he's the Pope. Just ignore him. You know, like Catholics have learned to understand there's not everything about their church they agree with. We certainly like a border, unlike our Pope. And we love our Pope, but it doesn't mean like we don't, if he tells us the war is wrong, we understand that's his position. We'll make up our own minds politically about you and what you've done. It doesn't really serve President Trump to get into a tit for tat with,
especially with the
Pope
midterms.
Leo. I really wish that would stop too.
I agree.
Yeah, why alienate
a huge base
Catholics? You know, there were we're 1/5 of the population, and we tend to be more conservative in our thinking. There's just no reason to do it. Just ignore, rise above. Britt, a pleasure, my friend. Great to see you.
Always love this. Thank you, Megyn.
Oh, me too. Taking all your thoughts on it too, folks. You can email me, Megyn@megynkelly.com. Thanks for joining us today. We're back tomorrow with some special health experts and much, much more. We'll see you then.